Patrick McCarthy with Glad to Have You. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today's seminar is going to be a demo of the brand new features that we released just yesterday in gladRESPONDER version 2.0. I'm going to give you a demo of all the new features along with some tips for some of the older features that we've had since the beginning. As a refresher for everyone, gladRESPONDER as a product was initiated and launched just over the summer and really got started using it in August and September this past year. Now we're on to version 2.0, and this is based primarily on all the feedback we received from you, the users, on ways to enhance it and improve your everyday workflow. As always, I'm going to keep everybody muted at this point. Save your questions for the end. We'll open it up, and you can ask questions at the end. Feel free to ask questions through the Ask the Question through text through the webinar interface if you want to, and I'll answer those at the end. Also, we sent you an email for all the registrants of the webinar about 10 minutes ago, which has a quick 5-step setup guide, and that setup guide is really just a bullet point list of things you should consider doing to optimize version 2.0 for your business. There's nothing to prevent you from continuing to use gladRESPONDER today, just like you did last week. Nothing has changed in that respect, but there are a lot of things you should consider doing to optimize these new features, and I'll go over each of those today. So let's get started. And just like I've done on previous webinars when I demoed gladRESPONDER, I'm going to take you through the setup process and show you how you would go about setting up and using gladRESPONDER. And when you just to step back for a moment, when we designed gladRESPONDER, we did it with 3 goals in mind. The first was to provide a way for you, the professional manager, to provide accurate, instantaneous email responses to inquiries made of your company through distribution sites like VRBO.com and HomeAway.com and FlipKey.com with accurate quotes of units that are available, and if they were not available, to provide accurate quotes for alternative properties. The second thing we wanted to do was to give you a robust lead management dashboard to better organize your everyday workflow and the workflow of your agents to better optimize your time. And then thirdly, we wanted to give you a robust way to slice and dice all of your leads in your lead database into remarketing campaigns later on. And we've enhanced each of those features in gladRESPONDER number 2. So first off, you'll notice that the dashboard looks a little bit different. And I'm going to come to that at the very end of the presentation, but you'll see immediately that we have the names of the agents that are assigned to each property. We have a few new icons here or there. And we have some more different types of search, quick search buttons, and also some more advanced filters. You'll also notice at the top that the configuration buttons have changed a little bit. The first place we're going to start is configurations and settings. If you click this configurations and settings buttons, it's going to open up all the possible types of configurations and settings you have to set in gladRESPONDER. The first that I'm going to show you is email templates. This is probably the biggest change, the biggest improvement we've made in gladRESPONDER. We've given you the ability to customize every auto response email that goes out. If you want to customize those auto responses, you click the email templates button at the top. It's going to provide you a list of every possible email that goes out in alphabetical order here. So I'll run through these really quickly just to show you the types of emails that can go out to your potential guests. The first is available. That means the inquired property that they asked about was available for the dates they wanted. The next is alternative dates. That means that if the original property is available, but it doesn't meet usually it does not meet your minimum stay requirements. So the auto response provides some alternative dates. The next possible email response is alternative property. So the original property is not available, and we're going to provide an alternative property as a suggestion. The next type is multiple properties will be supplied as an alternative suggestions. The next possible email response is alternative dates and property, meaning we don't even have alternative properties for the dates they want. So we're going to provide alternative dates and a property. The next one is multiple property suggestions along with alternative dates. The next one is a new one, actually. It's called Available with Suggestions. And this request came directly from one of you, our existing gladRESPONDER customers, who wanted the ability to supply suggested properties with every single response. The example was that this customer had, let's say, 6 units in a single building that were all identical, 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. He only listed one of those units on VRBO.com, and so when he got inquiries of that particular unit, he wanted to supply all the other units as potential suggestions back to the potential guest. Previously, we could not support that because we were showing the original unit available, but now you have the ability to forcibly suggest alternatives with that property. And so that's a new one. And I'll show you how to set that in the property configurations. The next one is maximum occupancy exceeded. That means that a guest has indicated they're going to bring too many adults and children to fit into your unit based on your configurations and your PMS. The next available auto response is none available, and it is what it is, meaning there is no properties available for the dates they suggested. And finally, an incomplete request. And that means that usually that you don't have rates set up, or for some reason you just can't respond back to, or our system can't respond back to the guest because there's not enough information to do so. Now, for any of these email templates that you want to configure, just go to the Configure button on the right-hand side, open it up, and you're going to see what we call pillboxes to the left. And you'll see, let me go back to one that hasn't been configured, like this alternative property. You're going to see that right now 0 of the 3 possible areas to customize have not been configured. So if I click Configure, you'll see that there are no check marks in each of these pillboxes, and there's blank screens here. If I click the override area number 1, that's going to be the first portion of the email that I have the opportunity to modify. If I click in the right-hand corner here, there's a button called Preview this area. If I click it, it's going to open up and show me the actual paragraph that I would be overriding if I want to override it in the template. This little blue highlight. So this is our default text here. You can choose to overwrite that with your own text or leave it as is. Go back to that. Same is true with override area number 2. That's generally going to be at the bottom of the email where all of your contact information is and other instructions. And those override areas number 1 and override areas number 2 pretty much stay consistent throughout all of these templates. But if you have any questions or concerns about what you're doing, just click that preview area. It's going to show you exactly what you're overriding. If you do want to override that, you can use placeholders to kind of customize it. You can use the potential guest's first name or last name or their email address or their arrival inquiry date to customize it. The other way we gave you to customize the email responses is to provide a specific message to prior guests that's only going to be inserted in auto-response emails that come from prior guests. And those are, we associate those by email addresses. So if someone sends you an inquiry with an email address that we already have in the Glad to Have You system logged as a prior guest, you have the ability now to automatically provide them a special message. And I'll show you where that appears in a moment. In fact, if you look at this preview area, it's going to show you. It's going to appear right at the very top, right below that guest's name. You can type in whatever you want, recognizing them as a prior guest. You could offer them a special discount or a special offer or a special deal if you wanted to as a prior guest. But a lot of times, from distribution sites, the guest might not be paying attention and might not even realize that it's your company that manages this property. But denoting that they're a prior guest in auto-response will help make that connection immediately. So that's the customization of the email templates. There's some other customizations of templates real quickly that I'm going to show you that you'll be able to insert into each auto response, and I'll show you an example of that in a moment. The next big change we made is with agents. So if you go over to your agent configuration screen, you're going to notice some differences. I know some of you do not use the agent configurations. In other words, you have all your inquiries coming just to a single email address or a single agent. You may want to consider changing that now because we've added a lot of new support. What we've done is we've added the ability to designate each agent's work schedule. So if I open up one of these agents here, we're looking at 360 Blue Properties admin portal now. You can see Tabitha. She's an example I always use as an agent. Now at the very bottom, we designate which days of the week Tabitha normally works. And what that's going to do is it's going to automatically assign the leads leads for properties that have previously been assigned to Tabitha. It's only going to give her those leads on the days that she works. So she'll get leads on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But if one comes in on a Saturday or Sunday or Monday, she's not going to get it. And I'll show you how that's configured elsewhere. The person that's going to get that is the other agents that work on those days that are associated with those properties. So you can establish their work week. You can also set them as out of office. So if Tabitha called in sick today, I can go in and denote that she's out of the office today. Once I do that, you can see that there's going to be a blue stripe through her name that shows that she's out of the office. If I hover over that, it's going to show me that. When she's out of the office, just like her off days during the work week, she's not going to receive leads. This ensures that only agents that are on duty and in the office get leads, which are going to hopefully make respond to quicker. Let me go back and change this because she's actually in the office today. Oops. There we go. And the other thing you'll notice on the screen is there are these orange stripes through. That means that this person is scheduled to be off today. So once you've scheduled you created your agents, configured their work schedules, now we go back into configurations of properties. And in configurations of properties, we've added the ability to add multiple agents to each property. So you see here, previously, before yesterday, before the release of version 2.0, you could only assign one agent to each property. Now that we support the concept of work days and out of the office calendaring, you can assign as many agents as you want to each property. The goal being that you assign enough agents to ensure that this property is covered every day of the week, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you hover over each agent's names, it will actually tell you their work schedule. So this is Sammy. Sammy works Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. Mandy works Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tabitha, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And the way the prioritization works is this, as leads come in, our system will go down these agents in the order in which they reside right here to determine which one's on duty first. If today is Wednesday, for example, it's not going to send the lead to Sammy because she's not working today. It's lead Mandy. Mandy's not working today either. But Tabitha is, so Tabitha is going to get this lead. If Tabitha wasn't working today, it would go on down the line. You actually want to have as many agents as possible in this list, probably, just to ensure that someone gets the lead. You can change the priority here simply by grabbing or dragging and dropping the names. So I just dragged and dropped Tabitha from third in priority to first in priority. Now I'm going to stick her back to third where she was originally. All right. The other things we can do with, the other new things we can do with configurations of properties is in suggested properties. Prior to yesterday, there was only one way to suggest properties, and that was by listing individual properties and property categories. We still support those two things, but we've also given you another option and then one improvement. The other option is that you can select a randomized suggestion. So if I select randomized suggestions, that means it's not going to do it in any sort of particular order. It's just going to go into these big groups and the suggested properties and randomly select. So if I had 10 leads that came in for the same property and the same dates, none of those 10 leads would get the exact same search results or suggested property results because they would all be randomized. Most companies will probably do it in sequential order, and that means that our system is going to go in the order of priority that you set down this list of properties and down the list of suggested categories to determine which ones are available and suggest if the original unit is not available. Just like, let me put in a few properties here, just like the agents, you can drag and drop these units to create the priority that you want. You can go in and change them every day, every 3 days, or never, based on your requirements. If you want to delete them, just click the X, and they'll be deleted. The last thing we've given you the ability to do, the new thing you can do now with properties, as I mentioned before, is you can now forcefully suggest properties with each response, even if the original property is available. So that's under the miscellaneous options here. Just click select, or select always include suggested properties of the responses. If you do that, there will always be those suggested responses that go along with the auto response. If you have multiple units in the same building and you site, this is an excellent way to get more traffic and expose more of those units to your guests. All right, that's the configuration of the properties. Another suggestion we had from a user of gladRESPONDER is that they wanted to have the ability to insert some customized text for particular properties. For example, maybe they wanted to offer a special deal for a property, or maybe a property had some unique features during certain times of the year that they wanted to expose to the guests. We've added that ability now. If you click Actions next to any property, you can now see an item called Edit Custom Response Remarks. If you click on that, you're going to get this template window, just like the other template windows we saw in the email configuration tab. And if you click Preview, you'll be able to see where this would normally appear in an email response, right in this highlighted area here. You can put in whatever text you want to put in about this particular property. Just like the other types of email template editing, you can use smart fields. You can use the guest's first name or last name or email address, etc. The other cool thing is if you put in some specific text here, you don't have to use it all the time. You don't have to delete it. You can make it active and not active simply by checking this box. So if I type in some text here and click Save, it's not going to be active. It's going to be there, but not active. And the way you know that it's not active is going to have this little magic wand, but the wand's going to be kind of a grayscale, kind of grayed out. And if you hover over it, you'll see that the customer marks are inactive. If I want to make those active, I just go back in to this window, click the box, and click Save. And now you'll see that this magic wand will turn into a colored magic wand, making it active. And so every inquiry coming in right now with respect to 153 Civil Laurel is going to get that custom stuff I just put in, which is just a bunch of junk, so I should probably delete it. All right. So that is all of the new stuff we added into the custom, or added into the property configuration screen. While I'm on this screen, or in this configurations, I want to go over the miscellaneous settings. This is a completely new tab that we didn't have before, and as we add more and more miscellaneous settings, we'll add more to this tab. Right now it has 3 settings, and you don't have to do anything to these right now. We've set them to defaults that we suggest, but I suggest you go in there and think about them. The first thing the option you have is the automatic booking option. This is, I think, a significant improvement to gladRESPONDER, and we'll go over it in a moment when we get to the lead management dashboard. But what we're doing now is gladRESPONDER is automatically hiding from your lead dashboard any leads that have come in that book through your property management system, or booked in or logged into your property management system. Every 6 hours, Glad to Have You syncs up with your property management system. So every 6 hours, we are looking for any new reservations that are made with email addresses that are associated with all these inquiries. If we detect that a reservation has been made and it has the same email address as one of the inquiries that came into gladRESPONDER, we will automatically hide it from your lead dashboard. We'll flag it, automatically hide it so it doesn't clutter up your dashboard. You get to decide some of the parameters of that logic. And by logic, I mean how many days are separated between the original check-in date the guest wanted and the actual check-in date the guest reserved. We know that there might be some play, might be some differentiation between the original check-in date the guest wanted and what they actually reserved. So if they actually wanted to check in on January 1st, but you convinced them to book for January 5th, our system will pick that up, and you can decide that window. We suggest 14 days, which gives you a big 2-week window of time to make sure you're catching any of those reservations. But based on your business model, you can bring it down to 1 day, which I don't advise, or bring it up to 30 days. The next option you have is for the agents and their workday scheduling. As I mentioned earlier, we now support the concept of work schedules and days off, sick days, vacation days, etc., to ensure that only the agents on duty get leads assigned to them. Well, at the end of the workday, you've got to decide at some point there must be a rollover from leads from the agent working today to the agent working tomorrow. You don't want it to be midnight because the leads coming in, from 5 o'clock to midnight are probably not going to get addressed until the agent comes back to work. So we allow you to set the time for the agent rollover. We suggest 3 in the afternoon. I know this would set to 5 right now, but I would suggest 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That would give your agent working today, a couple of extra hours at the end of the day to clean up her lead inquiry or her lead dashboard and convert as many as she can, and we'll ensure that leads coming in towards the end of the workday will get addressed by the agent working tomorrow. And then lastly, we've given you the ability to automatically hide aged leads from the dashboard. We realize that if you're not hiding your leads manually on the dashboard, you could very quickly get thousands and thousands of leads there, which just clutters everything up. And usually, if you haven't addressed a lead or haven't converted a lead within 7 days or 14 days, probably nothing else is going to happen with them anyway. So they might as well at least hide them. So we've given you the option to hide them based on a 7-day age, 14-day age, 30-day age, 45-day age, or never. We suggest 7 or 14. That way your lead management dashboard will be a little bit cleaner. As with all these configurations in the past, we still support the ability to change all of your property configurations through a Excel template. So feel free to do that through the Excel template, and unless you just want to do it manually, as I've shown you a moment ago. We've also added this new button here which says Export Current, Skip Non-Configured Properties. This way, when you're exporting your properties, if you have some that aren't configured in gladRESPONDER and you don't want to configure them, it's only going to pull out those that have been configured already. All right, so this takes care of all of the configuration settings for properties, agents, and email templates, and then your miscellaneous stuff. So back to the main dashboard. We've got some other changes here. Another very, very cool change and improvement is dealing with hot leads. Now, hot leads is not new. We've always had this concept since we released gladRESPONDER, the concept being that it's a way to identify particular properties for particular dates that you want to convert into bookings, usually like last-minute availability or problem weeks or problem months. And we've given you this ability to create these hot leads and create internal notes for your staff, like, for example, provide a 10% discount if somebody calls. And you can see right here in the hot lead configuration, you select a property, select dates, and then you supply your internal note. And that internal note appears on the chili pepper if you hover over it in the lead dashboard. That's all been here. What we've added is the ability to insert specific promotional text in the auto response that goes out for any inquiry associated with this hot lead. So for example, if I click this edit promotional text button, you can see that they've inserted a promotional text sentence that says we are currently offering discounted rates from December 1st to February 28th. Just like the other edit boxes, you can use smart tabs. You can turn off and turn on the promotional text just by clicking this box, and of course you can preview where it's going to show up, and it's going to show up right where this highlighted text is here. We think it's going to be a way to get some traction and fast responses back from some people, some inquirers. If you can insert some promotional text, the ability to turn it off and turn it on as your reservations get filled up, it's a big deal. I'll show you just in a moment here where all this stuff resides. So this is a big one. So now back to the lead dashboard. Before I get to that dashboard, now is a good time to let me just show you what this email is going to look like when it goes out. So let me blow this up for you. Okay, so this is a sample auto response that I created earlier. It's an actual auto response that came back to one of my test inquiries, but I inserted some custom text so you can actually see where all this custom text can reside if you choose to use it. First, you'll note that right here, this highlighted section here, this is where your prior guest message is going to appear if you want to configure it. It's right underneath the name, so it's right up front. The guest can't miss it. And again, it's just another way for you to single out your prior guest and make sure that they're making the connection that they've stayed with you in the past and recognizing that, maybe even present them a special offer. Next, you've got the standard text that we provide, which is whether or not the property is available or not available, and what the results is, or what the results are, rather. Next is going to be the hot lead promotional text. So that's going to appear only if you configured it for a specific hot lead. Next is going to be your custom property text. So if you've inserted any custom property text for a particular property, it will appear here. And then next, this is the override area number 1 for each response. This is just generic information about what you want to instruct your guests to do with the quotes that you provided them. You can leave the default text here as it sits, or you can change it. And then finally at the bottom, this is that override area number 2 that we discussed. You can change this or leave it just as is with the default text. Okay, so now back to the lead dashboard. Some other big improvements that we made for version number 2. And this is primarily geared towards your agents that are in this dashboard every day. First of all, you'll notice that the specific agents assigned to each lead appear right on the dashboard. You don't have to open up the lead anymore to find out what agent's assigned to it. So you can see Nicole's assigned to this one, Tabitha to this one, etc. If you're a company that doesn't use specific agents and you have them all coming to a single email address, you can just click this Hide Assigned Agents and they'll disappear. You don't have to use that at all. But if you do have unique agents, this is going to be a big help for them. So if I'm Tabitha and I come into my dashboard in the morning, no longer do I have to go up to Set Filters and search by my name. I can just click Tabitha and all my leads, or all the leads assigned to me, are now going to appear. This also helps reservation managers. You can quickly go in and see how many leads are assigned to each agent, and then you can change them if you need to. Remember, you can, in order to change or reassign a lead to a different agent, you can go over and check the or click the View Lead button and then reassign it to whatever agent you want. Another big feature we added for the dashboard is some ability to better manage multiple leads coming in from the same source. Prior to yesterday, we had this blue button or blue plus mark, but it really didn't do anything other than to note that this particular person sent you more than one inquiry in the last 48 hours. Now we've added a little number to it, which shows you actually how many they've submitted. And if you click on it, it's going to search and bring you just those leads coming in from that particular guest. This is good for a number of reasons. First is you can quickly, without searching for their names, quickly see exactly how many inquiries they've made, what properties they've made them on, dates received, etc. You can also see what agent is assigned to them. This is really important because if you're using the agent concept and you've got 3 different agents assigned to this same person, you probably quickly want to reassign them to a single agent, or the agent that walks in the morning wants to reassign to them. To do that, you go over to this View Lead button, go down. I'm going to quickly assign it to somebody, and I'll assign it back to Tabitha. So if I assign to Jennifer, I click Save and Close. I did not do it. Oh, it's not recognizing that person. Just a second. Because they're older, let's see. Let me try this one. Okay, so this is a good example. This same person is not assigned, or it's assigned rather to 2 different agents, Tabitha and Nicole. I can go in and reassign them all to Tabitha now. If I click Save and Close, it's going to give me a little warning, or a question really. Do I want to update all of them, or do I want to update just this lead? If I update all of them and click Close, it's now going to update all of them to Tabitha. And you notice it did something else too. Not only did it update the agents, but it also updated everything about that lead. So if there was a particular status on the lead, it now updated them to all to be followed up flags. If there were any guest notes associated with that lead, it updated the guest notes. So for example, I'm not going to put any in, but if I had stuck in any guest notes for this one, actually I will. I can click Save and Close, update all, and now if I go to a different lead associated with the same person, you'll see those same guest notes in there. Update all. Now let me go back and change these back to Nicole. Now if I go back and I want to change one to a different agent, like I just did, I don't want to change all of them. I just want to change this one. Just click just this lead, and now it's going to change it back to Nicole. And I'll clear that flag. All right. That's a big, big help dealing with multiple leads and making sure that multiple agents are dealing with the same person. Now, if you want to go back to the regular search window or the regular dashboard, just click that button I just clicked. And again, that button is Return to Regular Search up top. Another really cool thing we added was the ability to combine both guest folio and the lead folio. So prior to yesterday, we had the ability to open up a prior guest folio by clicking on their name if it was hyperlinked. And it pulled up all their prior reservation information, prior guest book entries, prior analytics, etc. But it didn't have any of their lead information. To get the lead information, we had to go over to this View Lead window. Well, now, if you open up the guest folio, you're going to notice that there's a new toolbox to the left called Leads. If you click on Leads, it's going to show you every lead that this guest has ever sent you, so long as you've had gladRESPONDER. And you can see this particular lead has sent one back in October and one today. And if you want to deal with those leads, you can click the View Lead icon, and it's going to pop up that lead window. So it's really, really nice to have all of this in a single spot. So your reservation agents will typically open up this guest folio, can learn a lot about this guest's prior history review, and then go directly into the lead they need to deal with and deal with it. Now, earlier at the beginning of the webinar, we talked about agent configurations and the concepts of agent work days and days off, vacation days. Well, what happens if an agent's off and for whatever reason you didn't have another agent assigned to that property and you've got a gap in coverage? Well, we've dealt with that by creating a new icon to show you that an agent's not in the office and it's assigned a lead. And we've also added a little quick search button up top here. You can see this quick search button says 2 agents are out of the office or have been out of the office in the last 5 days and have been assigned a lead. If I click that quick search, it's going to pull me up those leads. And you can see that on this lead that came in yesterday, November 19th, Nicole was out of the office. She was scheduled to be out of the office. So as a best practices, your reservation manager or whomever is managing the lead dashboard on a daily basis, if they come in and see these icons, they want to immediately go in and reassign them to an agent that's actually in the office so they can be dealt with properly. And you don't have to just scroll through all of the leads to determine that. You can actually just click the quick search and do that. With respect to the quick searches, we did modify the search logic on these a little bit. As you can see, we added the last 5-day limitations on many of them. And this was also an effort to clean up your dashboard. We realized that if you haven't dealt with error leads in the last 5 days or return guests in the last 5 days or hot leads in the last 5 days, you're probably not going to deal with them. You can still go use the advanced search filters if you want to search beyond 5 days, but these are much better. If you have multiple areas, some of our clients have multiple areas. The gladRESPONDER is built to work area specific, just like gladToHaveYou is, the professional version. But you can go in and search across all areas as well. You can also go in and search with all these advanced search filters that we've talked about in the past. First of all, you've got the agents, the guest types, the statuses, and these are the status of the lead itself, whether it needs to be followed up, whether you're waiting on the guest, whether it's already been booked, etc. And then finally, you can search based on responses sent, the types of responses that were sent. Now, I also talked to you earlier about the concept, and before I go beyond that, always remember if you've done some advanced searching, whether you've clicked on one of these quick search buttons over to the right or done some advanced searching here, if you want to get back to your dashboard as it sits, kind of your default view, just click clear. It's going to bring back all your leads that are on your normal dashboard. If you're in quick searches over here, the same is true by clicking the clear quick search button here. It will bring back all your leads. So we talked about earlier, one of the other cool things we added was the ability to automatically hide from the dashboard leads that have been booked. We sync with your property management system every 6 hours to check for that. If you want to go in and see those leads that have actually booked, go into Set Filters, go into Status, and select System Booked, Hide from List. That's got a purple flag, and that's different from manually booked, which we've always had in the past. And you can still do that if your agent calls up the person and books them over the phone. They can go ahead and denote that they booked with the green flag if they want. If they don't want to, they can just wait for 6 hours and we'll detect it, the property management system. So click that, do your searching, and then you'll see all the guests that have already booked and been automatically hidden from your dashboard. All right, and lastly, with respect to the third prong that we talked about, our third kind of goal with gladRESPONDER, and that's the ability to go back and market back to your guests, whether it be next year or next week. You do that by using this search filter screen up top above your lead dashboard. So, for example, if I want to go back and search for, well, first off, it's always important to remember if you want to go back and search historically, remember, most of your leads are hidden on this dashboard right now because this is your active dashboard that you're using. If you want to go back and search your historical leads, you need to go into the advanced search filters click the status toolbox and click Show All Leads. If you show all leads, it's going to override any other advanced filters that you have here. So you can see that on the dashboard right now, as a default view, there's 205 leads on 360 dashboard. If I click the override, it's going to show me historically all their leads, and that is 8,611. And that's just from, I think, July of this year, coming in from their VRBO site. So now this is all of my leads that have come in. Now I can slice and dice it and do with it what I want for purposes of remarketing. I could go back and search for all the people who were looking to stay in the month of, let's say, in the month of March 2014. So let's say I had a cancellation in March of next year. I wanted to go try to find some people that might be interested in it. Well, there's 826 leads, or people, or leads I should say, because some of them are multiple, but leads that were looking for places to stay in March. I could go down to a specific week in March and find out who was looking for a place to stay in the first week of March. If I had a last-minute cancellation, now I could go back. I could export this list to an email campaign, or I could export it to Excel and get all the details if I wanted to, and send out a quick email to these folks to see if they're still interested. I can do the same thing based on inquiry date, so I can go in and search for everyone who sent out inquiries in October. This is the time of the year that they're normally looking for places to stay. And so next year in October, the beginning of October, I could maybe send them an email reminding them about my company and maybe even reminding them about the units they were specifically interested in last year. I can do the same thing with hot leads. I can go and look at inquiries that came in during the month of October. Let's see, October 2013 that were associated with hot leads. All kinds of ways to slice and dice this stuff. So let me go back and review my release notes. I think I've covered just about everything having to do with gladRESPONDER v2. There's obviously a lot more stuff with gladRESPONDER in and of itself, but that really covers it. And while we are on this subject, I want to quickly go back and just do a quick review of the 5 steps that you should think about hitting when we get off the phone today. Again, this was in a link in an email we sent out shortly before the webinar. If you need another copy of it, feel free to reach out to me or to your client advocate, and they will get it to you. But first thing you need to do is go consider customizing some of your email templates. Customize as many or as few as you want. The one thing I would strongly suggest you do is customize the prior guest template. If anything, if you do anything with customization of templates, do this, because this is going to let your prior guests know that you're important to them and hopefully make a connection between your company and them again. The second thing you're going to want to do is go create work schedules for your agents. If you have individual agents that you use, if you aren't using individual agents right now, strongly consider it. I do think it will help your workflow and make your company more efficient. Go in and schedule their work weeks, or work days rather, what days of the week they work, and remember to set them out of the office if they're going to be out of the office sick or on vacation. Next thing you're going to want to do is go to your properties. Make sure your property configurations are correct. The things you need to update or think about updating are, first, agents. Assign, if you're using agents, assign agents that ensure that the property is covered 7 days a week, and then assign a couple of more, just to make sure that no lead goes dormant for a couple of days while your agents are out of the office. Remember, you can drag and drop those to create priority. Suggested properties. Decide whether or not you want them to be randomized or sequential. If they're sequential, put your properties in and drag and drop them to establish your priorities. If you've got identical units, but you only list a couple of them on distribution sites, consider always including suggested properties for those units. That way you can include other properties that are identical to them with all auto responses. Decide whether or not you want to do any customization for each property. I don't think it's going to be that common that you use it, but I'm sure in each of your companies there will be times that you want to include a custom response or a custom remark related to a particular property. Step 4, go to your miscellaneous settings and choose either leave these as default or choose another option. Automatic booking, we suggest 14 days. Agent rollover, I suggest 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Default lead age filter, I suggest either 7 or 14 days, depending upon your particular business. And then lastly, hot leads. Consider using hot leads. And if you do set up a hot lead, remember to insert some promotional text. Make sure you're using the hot leads to its fullest extent. Now, while we're here, we added 3 new things to Glad to Have You Professional as well. I wanted to cover. It'll only take about 3 minutes or less, but they're important and they're pretty cool. So if we go back over to Glad to Have You really quickly, the first thing we added was the ability to turn off notifications to an individual guest. This is rarely going to happen, but every once in a while a guest might call you, or maybe an owner calls you who downloaded your app and says, listen, I don't want to get notifications anymore, or I don't want to get emails anymore. You can go to that guest in the reservation screen, click the More button, and go down to an item called Block All Notifications. And it will block all scheduled and instantaneous push notifications and emails to that guest. It won't block the original email that goes out to invite them to download the app, but it will block everything else. Again, you don't want to do this just on a whim. You only want to do it if it's someone you know that does not want to get notifications because they've told you so. The second thing we did was go back over to this test environment to show you this one. If you have multiple areas, we added in the ability for you to do some quick searching. If I go to the reservation screen, again, as we talked about earlier, Glad to Have You and gladRESPONDER are set up to be area specific. So you can see right here, we're in the Santa Rosa Beach, Florida area. I could go over to the Miami area if I wanted to. If I found a company that's got multiple areas, I want to be able to search across all areas a lot of times. We already had that ability to do it in the advanced filters, but we didn't have that ability in these quick search buttons. We've now added that ability. So you can see there's 2 new tabs here. One is quick searches in this area. The other is quick searches in all areas. So if you have multiple areas, you can click that little tab, and now you're going to have quick searches across all your areas in your company. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you was something that was very, very cool. Many people had asked for it, and we finally added it. And that is the ability for your guests to favorite items in the mobile app or on the guest website, guest web portal. I'm going to show it to you in the guest web portal. Okay. If you go to your guest web portal now, just pick one of your guests and pull it up. You're going to notice that there's this new menu item right here called My Favorites. If I click on it, you can see that this guest has not added any favorites yet. But you can now go into any piece of custom content and actually click Add to My Favorites. You can do that with custom content and most of the local recommendations. So now guests, before they come to stay with you, can add restaurants or activities or points of interest or other pieces of custom content that they may want to add to their favorites and remember later on, kind of plan their trip. I think it's a very, very big improvement. Helps with the navigation around the app and around the guest portal. This feature is active today in all guest portals, so all of your guests logging into the websites have access to it today. With respect to your mobile apps, this takes a new deployment to Apple and to Google, and we are redeploying every customer's apps over the next 30 days. Some of you may have it active already, but you can expect to have yours. If you don't have it active, you can expect to have it active in the next 30 to 45 days. All right, that rounds it up for the gladRESPONDER v2.0 discussion. I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you have a question, feel free to submit it in the GoToWebinar dashboard. Otherwise, I will unmute all of your microphones. If you don't have a question, please mute your microphone so we won't get any feedback.
Hey, that was
Please mute your microphone. Okay, I just muted everybody again because we're getting some significant feedback. Let me take a look at the questions and the if there's any questions. Let's see here. Yes, we do have some questions, so let me take a look at these. Okay, first question, is there any development in progress to be able to include inquiries from our own website? For example, escaping to managed websites. Yes, absolutely. That is on our roadmap, and that will be, and we anticipate that will be in our next release. It's something that everybody wants, and it's a kind of a no-brainer. Absolutely, we're going to do it. And whomever that is, I can't see who submitted that question, but if you wouldn't mind, send over to your customer advocate some examples of inquiries coming in from your Escapio managed website. It's just a matter of us mapping to it. And the biggest challenge for us is what sort of mapping we create. So doing it for an Escapio managed website is kind of a no-brainer because a lot of people use that. When you get into a lot of other customized websites, it gets a little bit more difficult. Great question. Let me find some more here. Agent lead dashboard. Can I have it all areas? Can I have all areas be the default? That's a great question, and I unfortunately don't even know the answer to it right off the top of my head. But I am going to get the answer for you, and I'll respond back to that question offline. Okay, one question was, could you go over the purpose of the export current property skip non-configured? Sure. If we go back to configurations and settings, uploads, so you have three options here to export template. First, you can download just a blank template. Second, you can export all of your properties into a template. And then third, you could when I say, before I go to the third one, the second one, when you export current, that means you're going to export all of your properties, both the ones that are configured, meaning active in gladRESPONDER, and then those that aren't active. And then thirdly, you can export just those that are active, meaning they're configured in gladRESPONDER. I mean, not many of you, but there are probably some that don't have all of your properties active in gladRESPONDER. Maybe you have some that you just don't want to have an auto response for. So this third option here, skipping non-configured properties, is just so you don't have to bother having an export with your non-configured properties in it that you don't want to use. Can we add a lead manually? No, you cannot currently add a lead. Right now, it only supports leads coming in from the distribution sites. But that's a great comment, and we will examine it. And if you have any specific ideas on that, please reach out to your advocate, and they'll get it to me, and we will consider it. Had a question about the photograph being squished, the main photo being squished in the email into a square and being distorted. I don't know that we've addressed that specifically, but I'm going to put it on my list to address. Definitely the question, the issue is trying to decide which format or which ratio to stick a photo in. Next question is, has there been any improvements to the reporting of the agent's sales facts, closing ratio, et cetera? No, we have not added that in, but that will be part of our next release. It's definitely on a roadmap. We call that, it's basically a huge analytics piece, and we've pushed it off because we were adding in a lot of other features that will allow us to create more data for that. But it would include agent close rates. It would include, and both on not just close rates, but also because we know the value of the value of the rental, we could put in valuations too. It will include the ROI on the distribution sites, like each distribution sites, both globally and on a per unit basis. And then that could also obviously be broken up over times of year as well. One other tip I forgot to mention to you, the 360 Blue is actually implementing right now. They're a Navis user, and they are using the customization of the templates to include a specific campaign number in their auto responses. They go back out so they can track phone calls coming from the auto response, which I thought was a great idea. That way you can track how much phone call traffic and closings you're generating from gladRESPONDER. Okay, another question. What if work schedules change weekly? That's a good question. There's two ways you could do it. It's work schedules of your agents. One way you could do it is you could go in at the beginning of every week and literally change their work schedule right here under each agent. So if they work Monday through Friday this week, but only are going to work Wednesday through Saturday next week, you can just literally change that, click Save, and the settings are going to be instantaneous. The other thing you could do is you could set your agents to be working all week, every week, so Monday through Saturday, and then each week you could set them out of the office for certain days. I think as I'm talking through it, the easier way, more efficient way to do it would just be to go in and change their work schedules every week to do it the right way. When will the next question is, when will the autoresponder be usable with Escapia's LMS, and that's lead management system, for those that you don't use Escapia. We tested that last week, and it's almost usable. Escapia had some issues, and you may have received a support email last week telling you that they had some problems with their email portion of LMS, and they were getting some email failures, and we recognized that when we tested it and alerted Escapia. So they're working through those issues right now. We have an Escapia person in our test environment now, testing to make sure it works properly. And once we're convinced that it's working 100% accurately, we will release it to everyone. I was hoping to be able to announce it today, but it's just not ready for prime time yet. We want to make sure that no leads are going to get dropped. But it's I would guess within the next couple of weeks, right after Thanksgiving, most likely. Okay, a question was, when will this webinar be posted on your website so we can send it to our agents that could not attend? We will get it posted today. It takes about an hour or so to generate the right version of it, and then we'll get it posted. So it will be late, I would say today or later tonight, but by no doubt first thing in the morning. All right. I think I answered most of these questions. I'm going to, I'll quickly open it up to see if I can get everybody, if we can avoid the reverb. Please mute your microphones if you don't have a question, so we can hear everybody.
And there's that rack that's shell.
Yeah, I wondered, is that climbing up that? So you probably did climb into the one club.
Yeah,
In there.
you could have. You could have jumped up on the shelf.
All right, is there anybody that has any verbal questions? All right, is there Let's see if I can fix it right. Any verbal questions? I'll take that to know. Everybody, thank you very, very much for attending. We've got another one scheduled for Monday. It's going to basically be a repeat of this. If you want to join that one, you're more than welcome to. But please reach out to your client advocate if you have any follow-up questions. We'll be happy to answer them and make sure you get everything configured the right way. And again, last thing I'll tell you, if you have any ideas on how to improve the system,